Hey fashion friends! Welcome to day 3 of the Haute Couture Fashion Week recap of the Spring 2025 season. So we will be going through and commenting and analyzing every show that happened from the morning until the late evening of day 3 of the Fashion Week. We will be going through some classics like Elie Saab or Zuhair Murad, but also on this day Valentino was presenting their Haute Couture collection, which was highly anticipated as their house has a new creative director. There was also a guest as Paul Gaultier, so it will be a very interesting recap. If you missed day 1 or 2, you can go down below to the description and I will link my videos there. We will also be reviewing day 4, so stay tuned. So let's start this review with the morning shows. First show of the day was Gaurav Gupta, who returned to Paris Haute Couture in January with his collection called Across the Flame. The show was about a renewal, healing, and technology-empowered innovation. Gaurav Gupta was forced to cancel his last season's couture show in Paris after a devastating fire destroyed his atelier in Delhi. His life partner, Nakazato, a poet and a performer he refers to as his twin flame, suffered severe burns and underwent multiple surgeries. The traumatic event sparked a profound spiritual journey, with shamans and healers helping their recovery. We came back from the other side, Gupta reflected. This show is part of our healing. Drawing from the pain of loss, the gratitude for survival, and the celebration of resilience, he presented a deeply personal collection titled Across the Flame. His partner, Nakazato, opened the show barefoot, wearing a sheer pale dress that deliberately revealed the scars on her leg. She recounted her experience, her voice accompanied by the rhythmic beats of tabla musicians. The designer channeled his pain into a lineup of sculptural and futuristic couture pieces. "I'm really proud of myself and my partner," he shared. The show started with darker gowns embellished with metallic gold details and sculptural collars, and then transitioned into pieces draped with bright orange silk fabric reminiscent of flames. Across the Flame is a collection that represents resilience and imagination. Through couture and technology, Gaurav Gupta channels the duality of flames into garments that speak to both personal and universal themes of recovery. I think this collection was very touching and inspirational, as the right people in your life can get you through anything. Next show on the schedule was Franck Sorbier. This season, the man who loves poetic universes and draws his inspiration from dreams looks at current events in a show combining music, song, and dance. His collection, called Symphonie Barber, is a tribute to the Israeli and Palestinian women of the Women Wage Peace movement, Warriors of Peace. The collection is an unapologetic exploration of the brutal and the beautiful, the ancient and the avant-garde. The show begins with a man, bare-chested, wearing a large necklace of clay teeth and claws and shorts made of patches. He is followed by women dressed in all black or sparkling in gold and silver tones, in long evening dresses in organza, patchwork, or jacquard. They are later replaced on stage by peace warriors in trapeze dresses with tassels or sequins in shades of grey and navy blue, before giving way to peace representatives in neoclassical dresses in muslin, satin, or organza in a light palette. The collection softens in its final act. Flowing silk chiffon in shades of cheek yellow, nude, and apricot evoke the dawn after a storm. Then a classical dancer from the Paris Opera is accompanied on stage by young girls distributing olive branches to the guests. The designer comes out to greet in a black jacket decorated with the Peace and Love logo. This was as much a fashion show as it was a performance, and it was quite interesting. Next show, which was highly anticipated, at least by me, was Elie Saab, who always delivers beautiful collections. Inspired by the romantic radiance of an impressionist garden, each look in this ethereal collection is designed to be one piece in a harmonious whole. From the palette of dreamy pastels to fluid lines of their silhouettes, These luminous portraits combine into a transporting tableau which is both insanely feminine and powerfully delicate. The lineup also captured a renewed joie de vivre following a turbulent time in his native Beirut. I wanted to express the happiness that peace brought me and the desire to celebrate beauty once again, Elie Saab said. Fashion can convey a powerful message of positivity, hope, and humanity. As symbols of grace and romance, flowers were lavish and appliqued on sinuous sequin dresses with matching sweeping shawls, embroidered onto rounded boleros and voluminous capes, and woven into intricate patterns of encrusted lace. The collection was titled A Portrait of a Dream, and for the first time Elie Saab has introduced the fabric in his couture collection. While denim has appeared on couture runways before as jeans or a jacket, and Saab shows jeans in his ready-to-wear collections, for the first time he did away a formality of couture in denim. It represented a new direction for Saab, who usually dwells in sequins and sparkle. The designer was clear on the season. "It's about coolness," he said backstage after the show. The fabric can appeal to a younger demographic as the company continues to grow its trajectory, as it has done before by introducing items like hoodies in other collections. "We're developing the brand in different directions. The ready-to-wear is evolving significantly, and it shouldn't be different than the couture," added the brand's chief executive officer. Other looks ran the Saab range of embellished gowns, this season turning to softer shades, and he has used a lot of fringe and shawls to add movement. He was even keen to lighten up the traditional wedding dress, sending out his blushing bride in a dusty rose. Fashion Week wouldn't be nearly as fabulous without the Elie Saab show. After Elie Saab, Yuima Nakazato was presenting a Spring 2025 couture collection, which emerged from the sands of Sahara Desert as an observation of time and aging. A trip to part of the Sahara got Yuima Nakazato thinking about time and aging. His car got lost in a desert in the middle of the night, and with no phone signal or GPS, he went through the dunes and got lost in his thoughts, remembering the mythical Namazu or giant catfish that is meant to live beneath the earth and is believed to cause earthquakes. Each season, Nakazato transports his guests to a new part of the world, sourcing inspiration from landscapes, histories, and customs to create an immersive cross-cultural experience with textile as his medium. This season, he embarked on a journey exploring the Sahara Desert both as it is now and as it was millions of years ago. Prior to creating the collection, Nakazato visited the Sahara El Beida, or the White Desert National Park, which is located in central Egypt and was once at the bottom of the vast sea. Reflecting on his time in this sun-weathered landscape, resistant to modernity and inhospitable to human life, he created this collection. Pharaonic allusions not only further grounded the collection in Egypt, its primary source of inspiration, but also in the philosophical reflections on time and humanity that the looks and setting invited. Environments are changing. It's hard to imagine Tokyo becoming a desert, but it could happen. This for me is the message, said Nakazato backstage. Models move slowly yet deliberately down the runway, as if in a hypnotic trance, many dragging trains of intricately woven jewels across the concrete floor. The rich color palette ranged between black, white, and marine blue, with generous amounts of gold. His collections always show a striking combination of poetry and technical abilities. Here, some of the most innovative creations featured open-work crochet in organic shapes that molded the silhouette and revealed the body beneath. They were made from a combination of colored threads and metal chains and took on average 500 hours to make. This collection was the most intensive that Nakazato's team has ever created, and it also consisted of some revolutionary combinations of Japanese lacquer craftsmanship, digital printing, and AI photo processing, which shows how diverse avant-garde technologies can be used in tandem with human handiwork. He reflected on how couture is the counter-opposite of mass production in fashion, and thought about how future generations might discover the remnants of today's garments. The final look was a dress composed of more than 2,000 bronze-colored ceramic squares, made and assembled by hand, a task that took around 1,000 hours. With a spotlight shining on the sand pile in the middle of the runway, The designer fastened the rope around his final model as if performing a sacred ritualistic practice. Then he slowly retreated. The model stood alone, stoically, under the spotlight in a gilded cage. He was the last to leave the runway. I think this show was absolutely fantastic and I really liked it. Next show on the schedule was Valentino with Alessandro Michele's debut for Valentino Haute Couture. He titled his Spring 2025 couture collection Vertigineux and proceeded to go back down into the depths of history. Before the show, the V word was projected in red on a screen behind the blue opera curtain-lined runway. As the show started, the variety of terms flew by on display, such as fraud, intarsia, William Morris, Cleopatra, or pointillism. In his couture debut, Michele appeared to be using many references and resources. And of course, Michele's main creative concern was the Valentino's archive and the living couture atelier at the house in Rome. What he draws from the archive is Valentino Garavani's culture of beauty, elegance, and opulence. It's not a brand, it's a house, he said. The head-spinning sensation of having the phenomenal skills of the house at his fingertips caused the sense or vertigineux, which translates to dizzy in French, and it recalled the Italian semiologist Umberto Eco's study of lists. Eco writes about the list's infinite qualities and ability to create culture and order, sometimes not always. As Michele articulated in his collection notes, for him, lists represent the journey into the vertigo of an unfinished multiplicity. He said that Eco's texts pushed me to imagine every unique, finite, and unrepeatable dress as an uninterrupted and potentially infinite catalog of words. It's hard to see your way through because you have the freedom to do anything. To them, everything must be not just perfect but mesmerizing. I learned a lot, he said. Michele's lists make note of the seasons many of the looks are drawn from. Familiar Valentino techniques show up. Minute pleating on trumpet sleeves, fragile, complicated ruffles and chintzy floral prints, the bows, the frilly blouse plackets, bejeweled lattice work embroidery, the precise shape of a prince's coat. He also ran references to couturiers from other eras like Adrian's movie stars, Paul Poiret and Charles Frederick Worth. Also to the Catholic Church. The Valentino red was used in both an insane crinoline with a bolero jacket and a Pope scarlet robe. In a post-show press conference, he said that he liked the idea of something that is not finite, and the idea of theater is as important as clothes. I think the designs in this collection were truly magical. After Valentino, Viktor and Rolf were presenting their collection, which was based on only 3 staple garments, from which the guys draped 24 different creations. Beige trench in silk gazar, white shirt in silk gazar, blue trousers in silk gazar, said in French a disembodied and slightly robotic voice as each Viktor and Rolf design came into view. It wasn't a glitch of the sound system in the gilded salons of the Westin Hotel. Those 3 polished staple garments composed all 24 silhouettes the design duo created for their spring couture collection. Note that there was a single duplicate in the lineup. The same description, except that you see 24 times something very different, Viktor Horsting said backstage before showing a collection where he and Rolf Snoren played with volumes, proportions, and textile manipulations. It's a bit like a human interpretation of the endless possibilities of artificial intelligence, Snoren said. How to make a daywear into sculptural evening wear was the thought line of the duo's spring work. Serving as a further modifier in their iterations was gazar, the structured woven silk famously developed by Cristobal Balenciaga in the 1960s with Swiss textile company Abraham. Differences in its wrap and weft give it a life of its own and requirements of its own, Snoren said, and this isn't the design duo's first time delving deep into its properties. 25 years ago, they had already turned out an entire collection from gazar. The design duo opened their show with a knee-length trench with sculptural lantern-like sleeves worn over a tuxedo shirt with dress shorts. Each outfit that followed offered a glamorous variation. fashion. Shirts were stretched into ballooning mullet gowns, slinky floor-length shirt dresses, or were simply impeccably classic in their execution. Trousers came wide-legged, with generous turned-up hems, shrunk against the leg as extra slim cuts, crinkled into ruffy bloomers, or even invisible tucked as underlayers. The trench turned into an opera-length coat, strewn with myriad individually knotted thin bows, a multi-titered dress knotted around the waist into gowns, or even as dress of a little doll carried by model wearing the rest of the set. While most are still feeling their way around the place of AI in creation, here was an expansive argument that no matter the medium or the method, in the end it starts with an idea, as Snoren put it. Next on the schedule was Zuhair Murad, with a collection inspired by an old Hollywood magic. As the designer's official website describes the collection, hints of the 1960s weave through the garments alongside fleeting echoes of Hollywood's golden age, infusing the designs with a nostalgic yet timeless charm. This collection is an ode to a distant island, a place where, under a fortuitous alignment of stars, the world begins anew, revealing the vision of an ideal Eve, radiant as she awakens on the very first morning of creation. The designer was also channeling an old Hollywood glamour. I don't know why, but I was really thinking of actresses in vintage dresses with the corsets, the transparency, the embroidery, the illusion tulle, even huge skirts like Tulip or in Gazar. Murad reflected, adding that he always takes the feminine form in all its diversity and his baseline. The setting in the lofty, gilded, marbled 18th century Hotel Particulier Karl Lagerfeld once called home made a perfect background. I know where my client likes to spend her vacations. I was dreaming of a virgin island, an exotic place where heaven meets earth, far away from technology, the designer said after the show. It's a celebration of nature and the beauty of the woman, inspired by the romance of the 1950s and the elegance of the 1960s, more or less. He experimented with skirt shapes, including mid-century style fitted bodices with delicate balloon skirts cinched at the waist by black velvet bows. As the color palette, the website states, an undeniable sensuality radiates from the hibiscus flower with its rippling forms, vibrant reds and flowing shapes, a Mediterranean bloom, a beloved symbol of Beirut, the designer's cherished city, an eternal promise of solace and joy. I felt this was the mood for the season, he said of digging into more classical archival cuts. With more simplicity on several pieces in the collection, the Lebanese designer was able to focus on the luxurious silks and bursts of rich color. Palm fronds and other flora were rendered across his more typical shapes with plenty of cutouts and belly-barring coordinates. These intricate embroideries deliver the drama that is expected from Murad. He is a beloved designer by the red carpet regulars, and award season invites some of these pieces to take their place on the Hollywood runway. That Murad managed to turn out nearly 50 looks, despite the current context, speaks of his dedication to craft. I was back and forth between Lebanon and Paris with my team, and it was really very tough, he said. Brightening, he added, but we've had worse periods. We're used to living with bad moments and situations. I think when we struggle, we get even more inspired, and we want to prove to the world that there are people who loves life, loves beauty, community, and we love everybody. Better times are on the horizon, he said. In this lineup, his loyal clientele will be spoiled for a choice. Last show of the day, and also one of the most anticipated ones, was Paul Gaultier with the brand's latest guest designer for couture, Ludovic de Saint Sernin. The show was inspired by a maritime disaster, a shipwreck at the sea. The sailor DNA of the brand came to the forefront once again. He titled the collection La Naufrage, or The Shipwreck. The show knows colorfully imagine a wild cast of characters on the high seas. The idea was to create a story that would inspire people and make them dream about couture, he said during a preview in the atelier. There's elegance, there's luxury, there's lust. All of the emotions you can think about on a shipwreck. To a soundtrack of lapping waves, the show opened with a model in a corseted sea green gown whose skirt bore mermaid-like scales. The Saint Sernin had fun with the concept, from wet look hair to cone bra-like embellishments shaped like ship's steering wheels. He showed gowns that resembled billowing sails, tied with rope, or mossy remnants of a wreck. During the show, mermaids, pirates, sailors, sea monsters, and a forever bride spilled out onto the catwalk at Jean-Paul Gaultier headquarters on the Rue Saint-Martin, each of their sexy outfits given a cheeky name in the run of the show text, a house tradition stretching back to the founders' glory days. You can easily see the DNA of the Saint Sernin and Gaultier sync up. Corset lacing, theatrical eroticism, body diversity, and an anything-goes approach to sexuality and gender. The designer focused on nearly naked, body-skimming dresses with a variety of surface textures, evoking fishnetting, seaweed, or black sand clinging to wet flesh. The Saint Sernin marvel at the capabilities of the seamstresses and their willingness to come up with new ways of expressing couture and have fun with it. For example, he tasked them to approximate crocodile hides with latex, which they accomplished with uncanny accuracy for a slinky sea monster tailcoat and gown. It's such an incredible luxury to be able to do couture, and the atelier is so generous, so gentle, so knowledgeable, and the relationship that we built is so precious. I'm going to miss them a lot, said Saint Sernin. One thing you can count on a Gaultier show is a major model moment, and in this show were indeed major, from Paloma Elsesser and Alex Constantini to Candice Swanepoel and a rarely seen on the runway, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley. At show's end, the Saint Sernin strutted down the runway, and the whole thing culminated in an embrace between the two designers, a true passing of the torch. If you're still watching and you're still here, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this recap, as the day was quite exciting and a lot of things happened. My favorite show must be Yuima Nakazato with the Sahara Desert sands in the middle of the runway. It was amazing. I think all the garments were quite innovative and very inspirational. It was quite interesting to see something different on the runway. I also really like Jean-Paul Gaultier, the guest designer. As you know, the inspiration was pretty basic, as it's just like a maritime disaster. But the looks and the designs that came out of this simple inspiration were pretty fantastic. I love the wet looks, so yeah, this collection really took my heart also. Please let me know your favorite, and I'll see you in the day 4 recap soon. Bye!